So ultimately, what did you think of the movie?
Um, what is it? What's the rating scale we're going with?
I think still out of 4 stars is the best.
Out of 4?
Yeah, out of 4.
1 star.
Really, 1 star?
Yeah.
That bad?
Yeah.
I wasn't, when we were talking about it on Messenger, I didn't think, just based on based on like your Facebook status, I didn't think that 1 star was what I was going to get at it. I thought it was going to be something else. Why? Like, what would be the top 3 things that led to it being 1 star for you?
I mean, you were telling me about it before I saw it.
Right.
It was just kind of boring. Like there was no it was like the only character that really kind of had any life to them was I forgot that character's name, where Brian Tyree Henry played.
He was I have to look him up now. I can't remember
Me
that
too.
name.
Yeah.
Fastos.
Yeah.
He was good.
And what was it? I was thinking about it this week. So I guess Icarus's plan, I mean, he was basically just gonna let the Celestial be born, right?
Yeah.
So, and I guess when Ajax called him, like, okay, there's 7 days left, and he ends up killing her to prevent finding the others.
Right.
But he goes ahead and finds the others.
Anyways, yeah.
I'm like, why would you you could have just chilled for 7 days. I mean, I think the worst that would have happened is Cersei and Sprite would have, well, they didn't know where Ajax was, did they?
I mean, that's the thing. We don't know. We don't really know for sure. They end up, obviously, I guess he ends up taking them there, obviously later on in the movie, but we don't know for sure if they knew where she was. I mean, they talk about, let's go find the others, and somehow they're able to do it. I mean, I feel like if you've got and I'm blanking on the actress's name and her character's name, but the one that's she's deaf in real life. It's Makari. Yeah, Makari. I think it wouldn't have been an issue for her to find them regardless.
Right.
I think that might be either like you said, either it's just a poorly written part of the movie, but it's like, why even at that point, like why wait to the 7th day to even bring that up? Like, why not bring it up 100 years prior or something? Why even bring it up now? Like that she's 7 days. And was like the idea that the world was created in 7 days. I don't know if there's actually kind of symbolism there, or it's just like really dumb on the part, like the people that wrote the movie just weren't thinking. And I didn't even think about that. It's funny that you bring that up. That didn't even cross my mind. Like, why did he even go and bring them together? That's a good point. Like, if he really doesn't want them to like stop it, then why even like give them the opportunity to do that by bringing them together? Unless he just felt like they would all be like, yeah, let's let the earth get consumed by the celestial. Like, that's okay. But for me, I after I watched it, I didn't enjoy the movie really at all. I'd say out of 4 stars, maybe 2 stars, 2.5 maybe. I think it was beautiful. I don't think it was Blade Runner 2049 in terms of the way it was shot, or even Dune for that matter. But I mean, I think it's deserving of its Rotten Tomatoes score for sure. I enjoyed Thor: The Dark World more. I enjoyed Iron Man 2 more. Pretty much every other Marvel movie I enjoyed more. I even enjoyed the Edward Norton Hulk movie more than I enjoyed this.
Oh yeah, me too.
It just felt like the Eternals, it could have been its own movie by itself, separate from the MCU as a whole. And outside of like name drops, which I mentioned to you before, like outside of like them just mentioning like Captain America and Iron Man and stuff, like it could be totally unrelated from Marvel. It could exist on its own and it would still be a shitty movie. It was just unfortunate to say that because I wanted to enjoy it. And I think it brings up interesting subjects about like, what do you like if we're preventing genocide, we're preventing this mass, this kind of this worldwide destruction, and we're saving all these billions of lives, but then preventing the birth of trillions upon trillions of lives, that kind of thing, which I guess it's interesting to think about. It kind of takes Thanos' idea and just kind of flips it like, well, maybe Thanos was right to do it because he didn't know though. I mean, maybe he did. That if he snaps his fingers and then wipes out the half of the population across the universe, then it prevents all these Celestials from being born.
And what's funny about that? It's like I was reading the comments the next day. I forgot what article it was, but it's like, yeah, we don't want to interfere. Like, we're not allowed to interfere.
Yeah.
Unless it's deviant related.
Right.
But it's like, Thanos is an Eternal with the deviant gene, right?
Yeah.
Like it's really, unless the MCU is gonna try and reinvent that crap.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's like by making this movie, they had to kind of go back and fill in details that they didn't have to really explain. Like they could have just had Thanos be the Mad Titan, then not exclude the whole deviant portion out of it. Because when Harry Styles shows up at the end, people are like,
huh?
He's Thanos' brother. How does that work? They look nothing alike. And
which they would have to explain. It's like, okay,
which it's like, I guess it's nice when, in a way that they can, I mean, obviously the universe is expanding more and more, and this gives another opportunity but to me, it just kind of complicates things, like unnecessarily complicates things, especially for general audiences. I mean, people are just going to see that and be like, I don't get it, without like actually diving into either A, the comic book lore, or B, just reading up more on Wikipedia or just learning more that way. Because I don't think
which I had to do.
Yeah, I mean, same. It was the same way for me. It's I don't know why they decided to do the Eternals. I mean, I get they wanted to go more cosmic, but it seemed that's not like, now it seems more, I get it with Thanos and everything, and they have like Nowhere in Guardians of the Galaxy, the head of a dead celestial, but it just seems kind of, at this point, kind of a little bit of a mistake. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they had this huge, like phase 4 and beyond, they had this huge thing, but it just wasn't like, I had no connection to the characters. Like I just felt like it was by itself. I didn't care if Icarus died. I didn't care if any of the characters died. I mean, the one I liked the most was probably obviously I like Fastos, but I ended up really liking Gilgamesh. I thought he was really cool. And he's the one that ended up staying with Angelina Jolie's character, Athena, which is Athena. Or Athena, I think that's how you pronounce her name. I really liked Gilgamesh. I really liked Fastos, and I really liked Makari. But those were really the only three characters that really redeemed the movie. And I wish we had kind of explored them more. But like, you just, for the most part of the movie, you're just kind of like, you're introduced to these characters. You can't really. The nice thing about the MCU, which I think you would agree with, is that you take Iron Man and you put him with the ringer, and you have this huge character arc that spans all these different films, where he goes from anti-government to staunch government support after the Accords and everything. And it makes sense because that character has evolved so much from 2008 up until just now, versus the Eternals they're just there, and we're skipping back and forth in time, watching them evolve over the course of the film, but it's just happening all within a span of 2 hours and 30 minutes. You don't get time to really, the characters don't get the chance to breathe. It's just all happening all at the same time.
Two things I was gonna bring up anyways, but I think it segues from what you were talking about.
Yeah.
It's, I guess, the potential for a franchise like the Eternals, where it spans thousands and in the books probably like millions of years.
Yeah.
I think it just would have been better as maybe a limited series where
That's
you
a good
can
idea.
kind of like explore the different time periods,
Right.
current time, and their time on Olympia.
Yeah.
So, which is, where they come from. But, it's like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's like I guess Marvel thinks that when they have they do these big ideas, but in some ways they just squander it.
Yeah.
So, and it just reminded me how bad that Inhumans TV show was. I don't know if you ever saw that.
No.
Oh my god! I think it ran for 8 to 10 episodes on ABC.
Yeah.
I watched the first 2 or 3. It was crap. And the biggest shame was that the casting was actually pretty good, because you had, was it Anson Mount as Black Bolt, who main character. Then you had, I forget his real name, but the guy who played Ramsay on Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, I know you're talking. Wow,
Yeah,
I forgot. Wow.
Yeah. And
That's
there's
shame.
I know. It's like when I remember reading that cast and I was like, perfect. But it's like, you could tell just by the production value of that TV show, it's like they didn't care. They really didn't care, because I know it was meant to be a movie at first, but I guess it kept getting pushed off and they just made it a TV show. And it's like, okay, that would have been better as a movie, and then the Eternals would have been better as a show. It's like,
that's what I saw. Like I saw some other people, they kind of echoed that same thought, as it would have benefited from being on Disney Plus, probably because it gives it a chance to breathe, and it can be like multiple seasons where you're exploring these characters. Because I mean, it's just like you said, it's all a lot at one time, and I don't think Marvel really had the right idea of doing it. Like, I mean, it wasn't like it could have been like Guardians of the Galaxy, I guess, because you're introduced to these characters that you don't know. They're kind of out there. I mean, it's pretty cosmic, but these are like literal, almost gods that are, for the most part, completely invulnerable to pretty much everything. They can live and live and live and live. It's like, why would I care? Like, why would I care about them? Like, they're to me, they kind of, most of them are kind of cold, and they don't really have, none of the characters really had any. Obviously, there was like the first sex scene in the Marvel movie and everything, which I was kind of like, okay. And there was more love and like more intimacy in like the relationship that Phastos had with his husband in the movie than Cersei and Icarus. Or is that what is that? I know he's supposed to be like Icarus, like the actual.
No, it's pronounced Icarus. It's just spelled different.
It's like there was, and poor Richard Madden. I mean, why even bother being in the movie? Like, his character has there's nothing to him, and then his relationship with Cersei is just like, it's so bland. It's like they don't have any connection whatsoever. He had more of a connection with Sprite, I feel like, than he did with Cersei, and Sprite was just longing for him the entire time. But yeah, like I like, long story short, I agree that it probably would have worked out better as, like, that's why I like Loki so much, is because it's essentially like Doctor Who, but a Marvel character, and it makes it easier to explore his story like that wouldn't be good as a movie because it would just be too much going on in the span of 2 hours. And
Yeah.
with this, it was the same thing. It just wasn't. I just felt like I was a passenger watching something, and I had just no passion for it. Like I was just kind of there experiencing it, and it was beautiful to watch. There's a lot of great fight scenes and stuff, but that was it.
Yeah. I mean, the only redeeming qualities of the movie for me is, I think the final fight scene, especially with Makari and Icarus,
Right.
and the was it Celestial that
Yeah.
I guess that contacts Cersei and the one that tries to awaken, but they're able to stop it. I just like how that kind of looked from
Yeah.
like Earth's atmosphere, and I thought like, okay, that's a cool shot, but I'm like, okay, other than that, this, yeah, no.
So we got two. I think two of the three reasons that you gave it a 1 star. What would be the third reason?
God, I mean, I just didn't have any expectations going into this. It's like, all right, it's basically, this was probably the first movie I was like, MCU movie. I was like, okay, I've seen all the other ones. I'll just go watch this one.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree. That's a great point. I mean, I kind of felt the same way. I don't know if I'm just getting fatigued from all of them, or I was just kind of like, I was actually enthused. Like I was interested in seeing the movie based on the trailer alone. And then as I got to the point of actually watching it, I was just kind of like, I wanted to see this because it's another MCU. Like I want to see where it's going with it. I want to see what's happening, but I didn't really have like. I realized as I was sitting down, like this is not like I'm not excited to see this. Like I don't have that interest like I do. Like I mean, even with Black Widow, like I wasn't like super jazzed about seeing it, but I was still interested in seeing what they were doing with the character pre that character's death. And with this one, I had no enthusiasm going into it at all. So I agree with that, and that's kind of scary. It's kind of sad. I mean, ultimately, you want to continue feeling that way about Marvel movies, but we've been going at this for 13 years now, and so maybe there is fatigue setting in, or they're just. I feel like that they're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel for characters if they're turning. I mean, obviously the Eternals are opening it up to like a really cosmic part of the MCU or Marvel, just Marvel Comics as a whole. But I mean, they felt like Guardians of the Galaxy were pretty dumpster characters, and now we go from that to the Eternals. I mean, that's really like that's going from C level or D level to like F level characters that haven't really had a huge impact on Marvel Comics that I can remember just based on me reading up on it.
I mean, we at least got X-Men and Fantastic Four coming.
True.
So, that will hopefully, man, I feel like if somehow if Fantastic Four doesn't work out, it's like nobody can do right by that franchise.
Right.
But it's like, okay, at least Marvel has that back in control. So
right.
I have hope. So we'll see where that goes. But, X-Men being probably the second biggest, under Avengers as far as Marvel characters. But, yeah, they didn't have to do Eternals. I mean, trying to think of what other franchises they could have easily done. Hell, they still could have done the Inhumans movie.
Could have, yeah.
There's no reason for them to not do that.
I think that was. I think, and I don't remember if that was along the same lines of like obviously they separated Daredevil and that section like the Defenders and everything into Netflix.
Yeah,
that was part of. I think his name was I can't remember Ian. I can't remember his last name, Perlmutter or something, or he was like really kind of a toxic part of Marvel Studios. And I think what's his name basically said like Kevin Feige was like either I go or he goes, and Marvel basically.
I remember that actually. Yeah.
So I don't know
Heard about
if that was if that happened around the same time or not, but I feel like Marvel was really, I mean, they had the right idea. They were experimenting with episodic formats with ABC and then with Netflix and everything. But I don't think there was at the time it wasn't cohesive. It was like they were kind of doing separate things. Like, yeah, you know, this like they mentioned, oh yeah, the big guy, the big green guy. These are all kind of connected, but they're kind of in the periphery, and
Yeah.
it didn't really matter. And now with Disney Plus, they're like, yeah, this like what happens here with in What If this matters, or what happens in Loki this matters in the broader sense of the MCU. All this matters. But you can, as a general audience member, you don't have to watch that stuff to still get what's going on. But if you do, you get a deeper appreciation. Like with Kang, like when Kang shows up, people are like, "Who the hell is this guy? Like, why is he showing up in the new Ant-Man movie? I don't get it." But like people that really are into it, they'll have that experience of watching this stuff on Disney Plus and getting that. And I think it's nice to have that. It's kind of like it's like having an extra book. I mean, you can go back, oh, I can read this other book, and it kind of supplements the movies, that kind of thing. Because ultimately, like I don't think the Loki or some like I think Loki works as a TV show. I think WandaVision only works as a TV show. It wouldn't work as a movie.
Yeah.
I think Falcon and Winter Soldier could have probably been a movie, and it would have still been just as good. I mean, it would have been a lot to pack into a normal movie, but I think it would have benefited from being on the big screen, like a bigger production budget and everything. I felt like that could have been a good one. And What If only works, I think, as a TV show.
Oh yeah.
I ended up finally finishing it the other night, and I was like, wow, this is great, but this was only been as like this can only work in this medium. Like, and even as like the cartoon CGI, that's the only medium that it could work. That would be too much. I mean, maybe in 10 years, 20 years, when they get to that point, or maybe even less than that, that can work on the big screen. But I think that would be a lot for people to digest. That's how I feel about it, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, what was it? I was watching this. I don't know if you heard of the channel Star Wars Theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were talking about what was it? Oh crap, with the low battery. 20% battery. But they were talking about how the I guess whole Kathleen Kennedy fiasco
Right.
and everything, and if there's actually a plan or not. And somebody was talking about how they should do like so many seasons of a show and then a movie, and then go back to the show. Like have the movie probably be the season finale.
That makes sense.
Which that could work.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting.
I think so. I mean, I think that's a lot of the conversations that at least audience members are having, and they're talking about on the forums and stuff and on YouTube videos is obviously Marvel is one of the few, I think, major studios and like major, like they're just one of the few organizations that actually has a plan laid out, and versus I think, which a lot of people are in agreement that Kathleen Kennedy and Star Wars and stuff, they said like, okay, we want these distinctive voices, these distinctive ideas, these directors to like come up with a story, and then we think that they can string it together and not make it a cohesive thing, like from the start. Where with Kevin Feige and I think all the writers and stuff, the people the creative side at Marvel MCU, they have at least a framework of what's to come in 10 years, because it's better like financially for them to do it this way versus with Star Wars. We had kind of it was like, hey, it was good, and then like it was better in terms of critic response. And the second one, the Last Jedi, and then the last one, it's like let's return to Return of the Jedi, but then everyone hates the movie because it doesn't make any sense and that kind of thing. So I think Marvel was doing the right thing by exploring the universe this way, by being able to use it like TV and then using movies and stuff. And I think some stories like Armor Wars and Ironheart and stuff, I think that, and then She-Hulk, that just kind of works better. That works better on as in TV. Like She-Hulk will eventually end up in the movies and stuff, but I feel like it might be a little much like right now for just for general audiences. Like I don't understand. Like she's a woman and she's Hulk. Why do they even call her She-Hulk? Just call her Hulk. That kind of thing. And even with Miss Marvel and stuff, like that's going to be a weird thing for people to get into, I think. So I don't know.
I mean, I think, TV format just gives you more time to spend with the characters. Even though, like, talking about maybe 30, 40-minute episodes,
right?
8 episodes, which would be like 2 movies worth, but it's all still within 2.5 movies worth, but it's still within like an 8-week period.
Yeah.
So, I like that about it. I feel like the Phase 4 TV shows have just been better than the Phase 4 movies.
I think so. I agree with that. Yeah. Which is not, I mean, it's not a bad thing, but at least we still have good content coming out. And I'm looking forward more to the shows that can just kind of let the characters breathe and, like you said, get to know them better and everything. And it just gives, it's kind of a refreshing, because you can watch it at your own pace. You don't have to like sit through the entire movie, and you can kind of space it out. And I think with the Internals, we'll never get that chance anymore. I mean, obviously they're going to return in whatever fashion, but we never got that chance. And I think my biggest issue with the movie, and maybe this is just with Marvel, where they're going with the films now, is like they keep upping the ante of, okay, well now you've got a giant celestial that's just popped up into space right in front of Earth and just says, hey, I'm going to judge you. I'm going to look at this, the Eternals, like their collective memory, and see if Earth is worth saving. And it's like, bro, I mean, you just went from Thanos wiping out half the universe to a giant god essentially just appearing out of in the sky in front of you, just like, hey man, like I'm gonna judge you guys. It's like they keep ratcheting up like the villain, right? Is Arisham, if that's considered a villain. I don't think he's considered, or they are considered a villain.
I get it now. That's another thing I had a problem too. It's like, so they screw up your plan and you basically let them out on bail.
Yeah.
Like awesome. Like, great.
And so it's like, what's the point anymore if like a celestial can just show up? And I mean, I know they're opening the door for like Galactus and everything, but like if a celestial can just show up and just like, if it wanted to, can just destroy the planet. I mean, that really, like the Avengers are kind of like a joke now. I mean, obviously they have these powerful beings and stuff. But I mean, they got their asses handed to them by Thanos twice, 5 years apart. And I feel like if that's the case, it's just going to be difficult. Like, what the hell is a Black Knight going to do? And like, why even, like, we just really though, I mean, it's, I just don't see him. Like, I kept thinking that I can't think of the actress name now from Game of Thrones, that he was
Kit Harington. I'm
like,
yeah.
I was wondering how they were going to introduce the Black Knight, and then like basically, introducing the sword and everything. And then I'm like, honestly, what is Sam Wilson going to do? What is the Hulk going to do against the Celestial? What's the Black Knight going to do? And maybe I'm just thinking, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but I just felt like what's Spider-Man going to do? I mean, he's already like, all this other crap. I mean, I get it. It's like a comic book. There's all this, these problems are always happening. Like, why isn't Captain America helping? Well, he's got his own crap that he's dealing with. Or why is Black Panther not helping? Well, he's, dealing with something else entirely. But damn, when you have a giant celestial showing up in the sky, that kind of takes precedence over all the other crap going on. So that's what I worry about. It's like, are we getting too big with the villains and what's going on? Because you can only go, like, hell, Nick Fury's out in outer space right now.
Yeah.
what else is gonna happen?
I mean, you would think they would mention that sometime soon. It's like, hey, like you would think at least half of the heroes saw that big celestial, so
Yeah.
that's gonna get mentioned somewhere. I would think so.
Yeah, and that's
You know,
I just
you know,
it's a lot.
maybe
That's a
just
lot to process. I think for just a normal human in the MCU, and then B for someone like Sam Wilson or Ant-Man for that matter. I mean, that's a lot to process. I'm like, that's a lot to happen. I just feel like it might have been a little too early to introduce the Celestials this way. I mean, I'm not sure how much what's going to happen. I mean, I think Kang's the next big villain. Then after Kang, maybe it's Galactus. I mean, they're introducing the Fantastic Four, and you'll have Doctor Doom again. I'm just kind of wondering what was the mindset behind the Eternals, like introducing it this early on, and then it's just, to me, it just seemed weird, and I just felt like with where they were going and stuff, like a mistake, and so I just never really had anything that hooked me into that story or care about the Eternals at all. So that's why ultimately for me it was just kind of a failure of a movie, unfortunately. And I hate to be that way about a Marvel movie. I mean, I'm so enthralled with the series so far, and for it to kind of be that much of a downer, it's a shame.
The hell, they got a pretty good track record despite that.
They did this. I mean,
So,
it was inevitable. I think it was ultimately like they weren't going to have like every single film be good, like not be a rotten score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's kind of an inevitability, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's just they could have just had a movie about like the Black Knight or something, or like a movie about, I don't know, something else entirely, and it would still been probably more interesting or just something different than what we got. I mean, I was more excited by the last stinger of Blade talking to Kit Harington, being like, "Hey, man, like, I'm sure you want to do that." Like, that's like instantly more exciting than whatever we got with the Eternals.
I know.
Marshall Ali, I'm like, dude, give me that. Like, give me Blade, give me like vampires and stuff in the MCU now. Like, opening up the door wide open to alternate universes and stuff, filtering in. Like, just go ahead and do it, because the Eternals is, and like, some parts made me laugh. I enjoyed, like, I wanted to enjoy Kingo more. Like, I thought he would be really funny. And I love that actor. But I just felt like that was a big miss too. And I'm like, why bother?
I felt like he embodied the audience's reaction.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'm out.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, he's like, okay,
Bye.
that's great, and I like that. That was like, he didn't really choose sides. He's like, yeah, I agree with Icarus, but I'm not gonna step in and do anything. Like, I'm not gonna help. I'm not gonna stop him. Which was nice. That was kind of refreshing. Like, a character that was just kind of ambivalent to what happened ultimately. But yeah, he still got his comeuppance in the end when Arishem came up and just plucked them all out of Earth and stuff to judge them. And I'm just kind of like, well, I am not looking forward. I mean, maybe the Eternals will never show up again, like in a movie where all they're together at the same time. It might be just like you'll have Eros by himself, Harry Styles' character by himself, that horrible Patton Oswalt CGI.
Oh, that's who that was.
That was Patton Oswalt's, his voice.
Okay.
Yeah, he was what, Pippin or something. Let's see. Yeah, Pip the Troll, which was a very strange addition.
Yeah.
And very Shrek-like CGI for that, which was bizarre that the CGI was so poorly done on that. I don't know if it was done like after the fact, but it was just bad. There wasn't anything really redeemable in the movie, unfortunately. I mean, it's just like you said, outside of the final fight scene, like the actual the shot of the Eternal, like his hands coming out from the Earth's crust, and then like part of his head. I'm like, that was cool. That's interesting to see, but it's like that should be setting off all the alarms for the Avengers or what's left of it, that kind of thing. It's like it was not a good movie.
It wasn't. Yeah. I don't think if I had anything else to. I mean, no. On the movie itself, no. That's it for me.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was stupid. It really was.
That's they'll have that's like your official review. It was stupid. That was it.
Yeah.
But really, no, I mean, in all seriousness, I feel like, I mean, there was so much opportunity for it to be a better movie than what it was. I think that was helmed by a great director. I think the casting was right. I think it had all like the bones or like the kernels of what needed to be a great movie, but it just didn't happen. And I think that the cast didn't have chemistry with each other, and it just felt like, I don't know, it felt hollow. Ultimately, it just felt like a hollow movie. Like it was just kind of there. It was something for you to watch. And so many people complain about popcorn movies and movies like this has no, like I'm watching Fast and Furious 20 and I don't really care about the characters outside of Dom offering you a beer because we're all family or whatever. Like you don't really care about, you just like you watch something and it's a visual feast, but there's nothing, there's no substance to it. And I think that's what the Eternals ultimately ended up being, a movie that had no substance. Yeah, there was characters, there was a plot, but I didn't care if the Eternals died. I didn't care if the Earth was consumed by, like, it felt like it was so separate from what was going on. Like, I felt like, oh, okay, well, this is just a different Earth. This isn't Earth 616. This is Earth whatever. And so, like, I don't, like, who cares what happens to this Earth? Like, I don't know. I don't know these characters. I don't know who Sprite is. Like, I care about Sam Wilson and I care about Bucky. And like, I want to know about them if they're going to survive this kind of event. So yeah, I think it's just, I guess it's just Marvel just missed the boat on this one. That was one of the few bad decisions they've made, and like a long list of great decisions. I mean, recasting characters and picking, like, who would have thought Guardians of the Galaxy would be as popular as they are, that kind of thing. So I think we'll just have to chalk it up to, I don't know, just a misfire. Just someone made the wrong decision there. And they I guess they saw Chloe Zhao. I think I'm mispronouncing her last name. They're like, oh,
Yeah, I think that's right.
Academy Award winner. Let's put her up there.
Yeah.
Let's give her a shot. And I think she did a good job. I just don't think it was. I don't think it's her fault. I think it's just the script and the story. I think that's ultimately what the issue was. So
I remember walking out of the theater like, that wasn't good, but it was like, something's not right. Like something's not right. That kind of led me to rereading that Eternals mini series.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't remember. This is something not right. I couldn't tell what, just because I haven't read it since like, I think 2011, 2012.
Right.
So it's been a while. But yeah. And yeah, there was a lot of differences. I don't know if you had anything else to add with the movie. Because that's the main plot of that is, so main character is Makari, who's a guy.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and there's actually a couple other characters that were gender swapped. What was it? Sprite is a boy, and Ajak, who's a guy. But Makari, he's just a regular guy. His name is Mark Curry, but Icarus approaches him, tells him that he's an Eternal, and tries to get him to remember. What was it? Yeah, and like Cersei's the same way. She lost her memory, and her character way different than the damn movie. She actually plans parties. She's kind of like a fun,
Okay.
free. Like it was just like this is like again, this miniseries is the only reference I have as far as as far as the comics.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't tell you what these characters were really like outside of this miniseries,
Mhm.
but it's just like, why did they choose Cersei to be the main character, which was weird. I mean, because I think even with the new volume of the series that's out now, because it started at the beginning of this year,
Yeah.
Icarus is usually a prime focus. It was just weird for them to choose Cersei as like the main character.
Yeah, like the jumping off point for the rest of the movie.
Yeah. And Thena also has no memory. She's actually a scientist working with Tony Stark.
Oh, okay.
But what was it? Sprite is actually a child star who has his own TV show, and
Yeah.
he's working with some kids on like this teen superhero show. And it actually takes place during Civil War. So there's like you see all these like ads and commercials trying to like promote like pro registration
Gotcha.
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is like I don't know why they had to do that. It just could have, been its own thing. It didn't have to be tied in, but it's basically Icarus trying to rally them.
Yeah.
And there's a few deviants coming after Icarus, which also, I don't know if you know this, and I actually remember, this is probably one of the few things I remember. It's like, I don't know why they had all the deviants look the same. Because the thing about the deviants, there's no two look alike.
Oh, okay.
Like they're all different. And it's like they can speak too. So it's like you had basically the movie had all these like wolf-like creatures.
Right.
Which one Crow, I think it's Crow, able to drain Ajax powers and kind of evolve and then keep training the other Eternals powers.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I don't know why they screwed that up, but they did. It's like that's why it reminds me of Inhumans, just because it's like they really didn't care. I was like, it's like they just wanted to do their own thing and just kind of like, okay, we'll do like the skeleton of the plot, but we can, finagle our way through it. But, and as the miniseries is going on, you find out that the deviants are trying to wake up the dreaming celestial. And you also find out that Sprite is the one who causes their memory loss and who's wanting to wake up the dreaming celestial too, because I don't even think it really explains it that well, because he's really after mortality, just kind of like Sprite in the movie.
Oh yeah.
And along the way you meet Zurus, who's Thena's father, who's actually the leader of the Eternals. I don't know why they didn't feature him in the movie. But yeah, he's like this vagrant on the street, but Ajax finds him and he's like, okay, we need to, round up everybody else. Druig, who knows who he is. He actually is the prime minister of some foreign country. I was saying, mind control comes into that. But yeah, they all pretty much band together, except for Sprite, obviously. The Celestial wakes up, and it's kind of similar to the judgment scene in the movie, where he just talks to Makari kind of in his head, And he's like, I wanted to, kill everybody on this planet, but I'll await judgment. Basically the same thing. So, he ends up being this big celestial at Golden Gate Park that's just standing there.
Really?
That's like upright. And it's just like Ajax basically ends up, he's like the groundskeeper there because like keeps an eye on them and everything.
Yeah.
And the miniseries is, I'd say it's decent. Like the last issue has most of them reunited at their I think it's at Olympia, but it's still on Earth.
Right.
The deviants try and come and take them over.
Yeah.
But Makari stops them and they kind of like retreat back.
Mm-hmm.
But you see Zurus, he actually, and I think this is probably my favorite scene. Sadly, it's a Zurus finds Sprite trying to escape on this train. And he's like talking to him, or he's like, is it worth it? Was it worth it? And he's like, yeah, it was pretty cool. I kind of, almost entered the universe. And, Sprite knows this ain't going to go down well. So, yeah, like Zurus kind of holds him in his, arm and he snaps his neck.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, it wasn't that part. I'm like, you know what? It wasn't. I'm not saying that the Sprite's motivation was even decent in the miniseries, but
Sure.
I felt like it came across somewhat better than Sprite's in the movie, just because, like, as far as her wanting mortality, it's not really mentioned that much.
Gotcha.
Like you don't even really find out she's into Icarus until later in the movie. So,
True.
I feel like that part was just kind of tacked on.
Yeah, it was like a tacked on twist that just felt kind of. It felt like it was out of the blue, but you didn't have any outside that one little bit at the beginning of the movie where it's like she's illusion of herself. She's created an illusion that's an older version of a woman, and she's trying to hit on a guy at a bar. And like, how would you connect that with how would you connect that with like Icarus? Like, we won't get that. Audience won't get that.
Right.
But, so would you say the series that mini series, like, is that like out of 4 stars? What would you get that like?
Like a 2.5.
Yeah, more enjoyable than the actual movie itself.
Oh yeah, like I felt like this was. I mean, hell, I'm trying to that damn Blade TV show from Spike TV like 10 years ago was better than this crap.
Wow.
Yeah. Did you watch that?
I know of it. I never watched it, but I know of it. And that's why I'm like, wow. I mean, that's a, to say something's 1 star and then to say that a Spike TV show, that's a pretty low blow. I mean,
yeah.
That's a pretty damning review in and of itself.
I mean, movie just kind of came out as hollow.
Yeah, that's how I felt about it, and it's a shame that it ended up being that way. But at least the miniseries was somewhat more. And I remember reading up on it like prior, and like reading up on just like what the deviants are, like actual humanoid deviants versus the deviants in the movie are just weird looking creatures that were kind of lame, actually.
Yeah,
kind of lame looking. And I don't know, it just felt they had a lot of opportunity to do something really cool, and I think unfortunately they just missed it. They missed a bar on it. But it's gonna make a lot of money. I mean, despite the pandemic and everything, it's earned a lot of money and stuff. So
really,
yeah, I think it's. I mean, it's not going to be like what it was, like say if it was released in 2019, but it has gotten a lot of money.
Okay. I wonder what the budget for that is.
I think it's a pretty heavy one. Just so we're not taking into account. Let me see. We're not taking into account like the marketing. It says it's $200 million budget and it's made 300 million so far, but we're not. I'd say it probably. Well, I don't know. I mean, the budget now with the pandemic and everything, I'm not sure how much they're pumping out marketing wise, but I'd say at least 150 million, 200 million for marketing for sure. So I think it may end up at a loss until it comes out like on DVD or something where people can like they buy it, either stream it for or Disney Plus. Obviously, they'll end up making money off it somehow. But and the characters as toys and stuff. But yeah, I mean, $300 million worldwide versus Black Widow. Let's see what that ended up making. Black Widow was, which I think I enjoyed Black Widow more.
Yeah.
Once again, you know the characters and stuff, like they had a more emotional part to it. That made $379 million at the box office. And Black Widow is an established character, has been around for a long time. It's got Florence Pugh in it, David Harbour. William Hurt was in it again.
Rachel Weisz.
I mean, these are big stars. I mean, bigger for American audiences than say Kit Harington outside of obviously Game of Thrones and stuff, but he's a very minor character in the movie, so makes you wonder. And two, like releasing it streaming, it does hurt the box office number. So that's a whole other thing that we can discuss at some other time. But so we got the Eternals movie 1 star, and then the actual miniseries 1.5, 2?
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
You think I like it?
Yeah. It's
Really?
definitely a better jumping on point.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even without reading any of the past volumes, you can kind of tell this was kind of like a reboot for the Eternals at the time.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, I feel like they were trying to straighten out like origins and all that. So, yeah,
that makes sense.
So.
So that's our score. You got one star. I've got 2, maybe 2.5 stars for the Internal. So bottom line is save your money. Don't go see it.
Yeah.
Because ultimately it won't have any. I mean, ultimately it will in the future. It'll have something to do with other films, but you're kind of wasting your time seeing it now. I mean, you're better off. You could watch it at home. Like if you really want to watch a movie and something, that's how I would say. Like if you really want to see this movie, it's not even worth seeing it in the movie theater, because yeah, it's beautiful, but it's not worth the ticket price. I don't think so. Like it's one that you can watch at home and be okay with it. So
yeah,
that's a pretty damning review from me. Like I'm all for like seeing a movie in a movie theater, but that's how I feel about it. So
I don't even know about watching it at home. Like I'm like, all right, if you got 2.5 hours that you not care about, are you trying to get out of? Yeah, if you're trying to get out of something that's 2.5 hours long, then watch it. But other than that, no.
No, you're right. That's a good point. It's like you're stuck on a plane, you don't have anything better to do. You can watch it, or like stuck on a Greyhound bus or something. You can watch it. But that's a good point. I mean, you're stuck at home watching it. I mean, at least you can get up and take a break from it, because it's such a slog to get through. It's just a long movie that you don't care what happens, and you never want. That's the last thing that you want to hear about your own movie that you've done. Like, I don't care what happens to this, and shame on Marvel for putting this out, but what are you gonna do? You have any final thoughts about it, Ashley?
Just waiting for No Way Home though. Wipe the palate clean.
I hope so. Like I said, I think like we keep ratcheting up the stuff, and now we're the multiverse is out there, and we're dealing with all this. So I hope that by the end of the movie, he's still our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, because he's dealing with a lot of heavy stuff for being in. I think he's still in high school in this movie, or maybe he's going to college. I don't know, but that's a lot to deal with. For like, went from Spider-Man dealing with Vulture to dealing with um, Thanos to dealing with like the multiverse. That's a big jump for the web slinger. So I think it's gonna. I think we'll enjoy it. I think it'll be great. But the universe keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I'm hopefully like audiences won't get fatigued by everything. That's a lot going on at one time, having to keep up with. So we'll see.
Yeah. How much you think it's gonna make?
Ooh, probably. I'd say it's gonna fill more seats in the internals. I'd say probably closer to 500 million.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's the holidays, and despite the pandemic, people are going to go see it. They will pay money to go see it, and it'll be closer to that. Probably won't top 500. It'll be close to that amount. It'd definitely be over Black Widow and the Eternals. Maybe probably 400 if we're going to be conservative about it.
Hell, I was thinking probably 1 billion.
Really?
Because even before the pandemic, this is like a highly anticipated movie.
True. And with the spoilers and stuff about it, about
right,
who's probably going to be in it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of ginned up a lot of interest. So you've got 3 Spider-Man of 3 generations. So I'm thinking
Good
it's
point.
And God, who was? I think they were talking about it on Star Wars Theory that, like, this would make, like, this should be the movie to make. If like this movie doesn't make money, I don't think really, I don't see really any other upcoming movie making that much anytime soon.
Yeah. Until we get through this. Yeah, I think that's like, this is probably like they're probably riding on this to be successful.
Right.
I think if it came out 2 years ago, I mean, if we weren't dealing with the pandemic right now, I think that this movie, like this one, would go down like in the record books, just because hype alone, for, like you said already, is the potential for others, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Doc Ock, and Green Goblin and stuff, and people are hyped about Jamie Foxx back as the Shocker or whatever, which is
Electro.
That's an Electro. Yeah, I'm thinking of Shocker.
It's a different guy.
It's a different guy. So we'll see. Hopefully that's the case. I hope it does well. I just I don't know. Maybe I'm getting to the point where I'm getting superhero fatigue, at least with Marvel. I hope that's wrong. I hope I still enjoy them going forward. But right now, I don't really have, outside of No Way Home. I don't really have a vested interest, because there's not really a team up anymore. Not teaming up to be something. They're all kind of separate, and we're kind of
right.
I guess at some point we'll go back to where they all have to team up to fight Kang and stuff. But how many years ago till Quantum Mania comes out? Like 2024?
I think it was 23.
Which is a long time.
Yeah.
So we'll see. That's all I've got, actually. That's all I got to say on
it. Me too.
So. I think we did a good job with this. Is your phone about to die?
No.
You plugged it in.
No, I haven't plugged it in yet. But I think it's like between 5 and 10%. So it's still good.
Well, good. Well, so I'll stop the recording now, I think, and then what I'll do is I'll send it to you.